how will you lead the people, the citizens of Mesquite? How will you interact with the people? And if you could talk a little bit about your view of transparency in the city.
As mayor, I think it's crucial. It is absolutely crucial that you're out in the public, meeting with the public on a daily basis. You have to know the problems that they have and the issues that they're facing, whether it's residential or business. Transparency, to me, is just that, openness. When we talk about transparency, we talk about, you know, things that come up are public comment. Will you allow public comment, and will you discuss, allow the council to have a conversation with the people when they come forward at public comment? And the answer is absolutely yes. Transparency to me is also, we have a process whereby the city can get no bid contracts for professional service agreements. I am absolutely, unequivocally against no bid contracts that don't have emergencies based behind them. I mean, if we have a flood coming through, we're obviously going to need to get things done. We can't sit back and get 3 bids. But for the most part, any no bid contract is not transparent. And that's one of the key issues that I think we all need to face, especially in this economy when we're talking about saving money, cutting costs. We cannot afford to give a contract to somebody without getting it bid out.
In the same vein, talk a little bit about your approach on technical reviews and the way that the city does them.
Well, having never been to a technical review, I don't know how they do them, but I would like, and I think that process needs to be open. It really does. Now this is going way back, 1993, 94, 95, possibly 96, we had a general manager here named Bill DeVee that we had technical reviews that were open to the public. The council would ask the questions at the technical review, and then an hour or two later they would ask the same questions during the agendized meeting. They stopped doing it because they were asking the same questions. One thing that needs to happen, I think technical reviews can be very important. I think staff needs to share the information with City Council, but that has to be done open. Whether it's you know, an actual public meeting where they bring people in, they have an agendized item, or whether they just say we're having a technical review, the public is invited to sit in on it. You're not allowed to comment, but you're at least allowed to be there and listen. Okay.
The city's code of conduct for elected officials, where do you stand on that document? Is that something that you favor or that you oppose? Where are you on that?
That would be Resolution 547, and the city voted for that back, I believe it was in February of 2008. Resolutions are unenforceable opinions. There's an extreme difference between an ordinance and a resolution. Whereas the ordinance is enforceable, a resolution is not enforceable. I really think that Resolution 547 is not a good thing for the city of Mesquite. I agree that we need to be civil with each other. I agree that we shouldn't have shouting matches at the dais. But there are other issues with 547 that really raise a lot of red flags with me. The number one is found on page 8, and I can't quote it verbatim for you, but it basically states that city council members must not get involved in administrative issues. That would be anything from business permitting, development processes, hiring consultants, hiring staff, things of that nature. Where I agree on the issue where we shouldn't get involved is hiring and staff. That's if they're not a director level, let them hire their staff. That's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. And we certainly can't have city council members or the mayor putting any undue pressure on people to get things done. There are laws against doing that, and I think we're protected that way. But as that is written, where a council member can't talk to city staff, you're really impeding the elected official from doing their job. And if we really can't talk to director level, because that is a member of city staff, what is the purpose of having an elected official? How do your constituents come to you and say, hey, listen, the permitting process isn't working? Well, you know, I can't do anything about that because I'm said I can't influence that. So I really have a problem with that issue. I'm not for micromanagement. That's one thing that I think is wrong. But I certainly think that in order for us to have an accountable government, we have to have accountable managers. And part of that process is we have to be able to talk to the director level people to give them the guidance that we're getting from the people who elected us. And then we have to have conversations back and forth to determine whether or not we're reaching those goals. So 547, I'm against it. Again, as I said, it's really an unenforceable opinion. I really think that if we're going to do something of that nature, it needs to be on an ordinance level. If we're going to start making laws of that nature, they need to be enforceable. But personally, I'm against any type of thing that's going to cause me to not be able to do my job.
What are some of the areas of the budget that you think can be cut? And also talk a little bit about when it comes time to cut the budget, where do you think there can be cuts safely made, and what areas are kind of off limits for budget cuts?
Well, with what we're looking at right now, with the amount of funding that I think we're going to get cut, I really don't know if there's a single department that isn't going to have to be cut. But the key to those cuts are this: they have to start at the top. You have to lead by example. We cannot continue to just cut this department and spare this department. It has to be fair across the boards. Some of the areas, I know other candidates have mentioned, we've talked about benefits for elected officials. You look at the budget today, approximately just under $17,000 per elected official is spent on benefits. Don't know if that, me personally, I think that's a lot of money. And as an elected official, I'm volunteering to do this. It's not a career for me. This isn't something I'm trying to build into a career. Personally, I would have to refuse the retirement pay as well as the insurance pay, because that's not why I'm doing this. And I'm a volunteer. I'm not too worried about whether or not I'm going to get paid to do this. This is not what I'm doing it for. We need to take a look at the vehicle allowances that come across. I think all the directors should have that removed immediately. There's plenty of vehicles over there that they can use. They can use fleet vehicles just like everyone else. As for elected officials, let's end that practice of giving them $400. If they're driving their vehicle, reimburse them for the amount of driving that they do. Put in your receipts just like everybody else has to do. I'm not for a blanket $400 or $500, whatever that may be. We definitely need to look, though, from the top down. If we're going to be cutting anything, our elected officials have to be willing to take those cuts too.
As a final question, talk a little bit about what's different about you and what you would do differently in the position of mayor compared to how things are done at City Hall now.
We go back to my original statements. Performance management. If you ask today what the goal is for the rec center for increasing the number of softball tournaments today? If you ask them, there is no